Send a powerful message to those people who live in the past and tell them no more business as usual and no more repeat performances because we're going to make America great again.
Hey everyone, welcome once again to yet another fantastic, fabulous, and I can't think of another F for
stupendous.
Well, no, that's stupendous, John. But
I'm just giving you another
trying to
word.
figure it out. But welcome to Two Noobs Talking once again. It's episode 52, and of course with my good buddy John Tracy. John, what's going on,
What's
man?
up? How are you?
I am doing well. I am Matt Craig, of course, and let's do a little numbers before we jump right in, shall we? 52 holds special weight for both of us, actually.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Super Bowl was Super Bowl 52, and of course the Eagles beat the Patriots.
And Brady.
41-33.
Take that, Brady.
Greatest of all time, my ass. You know, it's like, get out of here with that.
Not that day.
Not that day. But who else did we come up with?
Barry Gardner of the Ray Rhodes era, if you can go back that far.
Nice.
Middle linebacker.
Yep.
My boy, Ray Lewis. Love him to death.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, big time Hall of Famer. And not far from where we grew up, you know, in Baltimore. No. Like he played pretty close to us.
2 hour drive, it's not too bad. I mean, and you know, was one of the best leaders you could ever hope for. In a middle linebacker for sure. You said Contreras, right? Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, so. I think so. I think Jose Contreras. I think so.
I think I looked up and I saw like
someone have to check me on that one, but
exactly.
I really think Jose Contreras, who pitched for the Phillies, totally wore 52.
I think I even shared with you earlier today that 52 by the Flyers, there was a Todd Fedoruk.
There you go.
Wore that, and Nick Cousins also wore that.
I think Fedoruk, Steve, you can check us on this because you'll be on the show next week. That Fedoruk wore 29 was his primary number.
Ooh.
I think
you're right.
I think, but
I want to say that you're right.
Go fact check us on that.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up for sure. Yeah, and get that. I'll be curious with that when you guys hit 53. But John, as always, let's just dive right in, man. You know, we're proud to post on YouTube. You know, sometimes. You know, it's our primary driver, obviously, when we record and post these podcasts, and we have our video listeners. We also have our wonderful audio listeners as well. But the big tech has struck again, John. These lunatics in big tech basically have now put the hammer down. I'm going to just flash this really quick on screen. 130,000 videos on vaccine misinformation was being removed by YouTube. So let's talk about this one, John. Like, what's your initial reaction to this upon hearing this news?
It's scary because I don't think they're doing misinformation, which I think they're doing the same thing Instagram was doing before and Facebook was doing. If you mention it,
yeah, they
just flag you and you're done. Which is kind of scary for us because we do talk about COVID and things. We had a doctor on last week. Page, talking about vaccines. Yeah, it's a little concerning to what we do on a weekly basis. And that's worrisome because it's not freedom. It's not. Apparently, YouTube thinks that, you know, freedom isn't on the internet. It's just, you know, in your living room. It's not on the internet. They can do what they want.
You have to basically just go through them in order to get your information. And I think there was like, I can't believe I'm saying this, Bill Maher was basically saying, well, I mean, Facebook and YouTube and Google all screwed up with ivermectin at one point and, you know, things along those lines. But I think the one thing that I will say is that if there are kooks and odd jobs, and there are in the medical community,
absolutely,
I think that needs to be properly vetted.
Absolutely.
But I will say this, it's none of really YouTube's business. This kind of goes, again, back to what we were talking about with Doc, you know, last week, right? I mean, it's all about going to your doctor, talking to them, coming up with a game plan. And the best really that a doc can do is advise you on what to do. They can't tell you what to do. It's really the doc's decision to kind of say, these are the options that you have. in front of
come up with a treatment plan. But but that's missed in this world because most people just get on their iPhone and they tweet, whatever the hell they want out. And I can understand stopping misinformation, but when you're stopping all information, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's because this article does not clearly state exactly, it's very vague in what they were talking about. And that's what's concerning, because everybody knows this that has ever signed a contract or ever, bought a car, or fine print is a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And when you have a vague description on, oh, well, we're kind of eliminating something over here, but they're not telling you exactly what they're eliminating. Like, the war on drugs makes sense. It's a war on drugs. If they were like, hey, there's a war on something kind of, sort of, you would ask more questions, right?
I would think so, yeah. You would want to ask more questions.
That's kind of what YouTube, that's what they're doing. They're vaguely kind of perusing over the subject, but not telling you exactly what they're doing. And that's scary, especially for YouTube creators like us.
Oh, sure. And
we're on the small end. We don't even monetize for this. I can imagine the guys that are getting monetized and make a living off of this are probably really scared to talk about it.
I was just going to say, like, probably those that have Patreon accounts, those that, those kinds of things that basically their living is through this particular podcast. Again, we're grateful in that we're sort of under the radar. But if you can imagine, John, if we ever do get up to a Patreon level, you know what I mean? I mean, that's something where we may have to think about. But I think you had a really good point early on. You were right. I mean, the vagueness of all of this, it's like, I would want to see, like, what exactly is YouTube's, I guess you could say, criteria for removing a vaccine-heavy misinformation video.
What does it look like?
What does it look like? How have you vetted that entire process out? Those kinds of things where you kind of just like, you nitpick all the way straight down a certain list. You kind of do that a little bit with Lean Six. I've been doing that with process improvement in my own work. You kind of vet and you ask all these individual questions, not to annoy people, but you do it because you want to be able to find out what is the actual problem. And the fact that YouTube is kind of sort of getting away with this, it's like,
it's a little weird. It's a little weird.
It is. It is weird and strange, and should be brought to account.
When I saw it, it definitely raised my antennas to read into the article, and it didn't really. I mean, everybody can read it for themselves. It'll be in our show notes, but yeah, it was just so vague, and I was like, it puts YouTube in a reader's perspective, just from a reader's perspective, it puts YouTube in a very bad position because there's a lot of questions to be asked.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we wanted to bring it up, because it is a good article, and it's we got to be careful in the internet these days.
Yeah.
Because erased history is a bad thing, because then you don't have history to learn from.
Exactly. It is so important to kind of get as much information as much as you possibly can in order to make an informed decision. That's the best part about doing all of this. And again, when you're limiting said information, are there kooks, like I said before? Heck yeah. There are kooks out there all over the place, but that's where you discern where a kook is coming from by gathering as much information as you possibly can and vetting that information out, that kind of a deal. So yeah, we kind of just wanted to bring this up to light because it was just kind of just so crazy.
It's very interesting. I definitely, people that are interested in this stuff, totally check that out. Like, you're talking 130,000 videos were removed.
I wonder how
that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. That's a sizable portion of video content that's out there right now on YouTube. And you think, like, how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of videos are uploaded to that platform every single day, week, whatever. That's a significant portion. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at.
That's a number. That's definitely a number.
For sure. Well, John, just when we thought they bring us back out, they pull us right back into the fire. It's one of our very fabulous Fab 5 updates. Look at this on the screen. Love it. Let's talk about that scumbag, Chris Cuomo. We both had a big time chuckle over this week, right?
They keep bringing me back. It's so weird. I want to get away from him.
I mean,
he
like father, like son, you know, or like brother, like I guess, like
whatever they are.
Whatever they are,
scumbag like scumbag. I mean, he sits there on CNN. So I'm going to set the scene for everybody. Doesn't say a word about his brother. Defends his brother on the. Soon as the air clears and he's not paying attention, his old boss comes out with back in the day when Chris was sexually harassing me at the party, like, good job, Chris.
Whoops. Sorry to let that slip. Oh my god.
And the best part of the article is his apology. He basically, I'll sum it up. It's not the actual quote. I'm just summing up, as best I could. Sorry, I touched your butt. Like, that literally what his apology was. It was there, like, with no care. He's married at the time. Her husband was there at the party. Like,
okay, so let's set the scene, right?
It's a slimy story.
I mean,
it was years ago, but it's a slimy story.
It is. You set the scene of that, right? You're in this big posh party. You and Amber are there, and then all of a sudden Cuomo comes over, taps your wife on the ass. I mean,
butt touching. Yeah.
Dropping the gloves, right? I mean, that's.
I don't know what her husband was doing, but.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you, and we'll get into the global elites later, but how do you, Chris Cuomo, son of Mario Cuomo, brother of whatever the hell his name is, Cuomo.
Yeah, who's in jail.
Whatever his, I think he was fishing with his dog the other week. I made the New York Post, which is hilarious. We'll explain why in a minute, why Cuomo still makes the Post, because we got another nutcase that took over for him. But yeah, how do you let this get out? This was a long time ago.
You're an idiot.
You have money. You could stop these things. Like, have the elites become so sloppy?
Or are they that stupid?
I think they're just that stupid.
It could be that. It could be that too. But
you could have made that go away. You got money. You could have made that go away.
Well, I mean, let's face it, John. I mean, do you stop to really think that Chris Cuomo is going to have a plan B in case something happens?
He doesn't have a plan A. So
he doesn't have a plan A. Exactly.
No,
exactly. It's not even close to that.
He's trying not to get beat up by Don Lemon. That's like and that's funny.
And that's saying something.
My Funko Pop could beat up Don Lemon. Like, the fact that he's afraid of Don Lemon, it cracks me up.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Go work out, Chris. Go work out.
Exactly.
Stop touching butts. Don't be like your brother.
I think it's only a matter of time before that show goes off the air. I mean, I would think
it has to. The fact that the fact that he has a show is a disgrace.
It is.
And the fact that he appears on other people's shows, it's kind of the same feeling I have about Dan Bongino, but not in a, like, I don't hate Dan Bongino as much as I hate Chris Cuomo. I'll just put it this way. But like, I'm so tired of seeing Bongino's face. And I just think about Chris Cuomo and I'm like, I hate the guy's face and I'm tired of seeing his face.
Exactly.
Because he's everywhere.
Yeah. 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 It's just, it's amazing to me, the unbelievable. I mean, I remember we did our first ever Stop the Tape segment. Yes. Yeah. And that was just like the laughter I had after he was just like trying to defend his own brother. It was so utterly ridiculous. It's like, dude, man, just get off the air. Just don't even try to apologize. Just leave. Just do yourself a favor and leave. He's not as ingrained in douchebaggery as Chuck Todd, but he's close. Oh, he's getting there. Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly.
He's almost getting to that scumbag level.
Yeah. And speaking of a complete fool, we had, of course, like his brother was a complete idiot. Yeah. But now we have a fool that's replaced, Cuomo in the governor's mansion in New York, Kathy Hochul, who, basically went to a Christian conference center in Brooklyn, New York, and proceeded to make an ass out of herself by basically saying, hey, look, Christians, you should go out there and get the vaccine. I want you to be my apostles, John. My apostles.
Wow.
One problem with that, the apostles were, only 12 of them in the Bible. And I just want you to know, John, it took me a long time. I read through the Bible in a year because I was curious, obviously. It took a while. It takes a while to read it through. Not one time was I ever commanded to get the jab as a Christian. Not one time.
That's kind of the theory.
Yeah.
That it's not. Yeah. It's also like to the Constitution, like it's protected under the Constitution.
Yeah.
That like I had hope for her because she was doing good things. She is doing good things.
She is.
But
this was not one of them.
that is just bizarre. Like they are pushing an agenda in New York that even the governor can't control.
Yeah. This is where I think
it's
where
very
I come up with the idea of a quota that has been set by the administrative state in Washington, D.C. to get as many people jabbed as they possibly can.
Yeah,
this is where the theory comes into play here, because it's like you don't go out there to try and, let's just say, bribe Christians to say, and then come up with flowery language. Well, Jesus loves you, and he would want you to get the jab. Never mind the fact that he healed people by himself using his own power because of him being the Son of God. That kind of a deal.
We're overlooking that whole concept.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's like
apparently she doesn't even think like she's talking about how she's she's religious, but she totally just glares over that. Like
she just completely glares over that, and so do a lot of other Christians, which we'll get to. But I mean, it's just amazing to me.
Religion is a tough. I mean,
it is. It's a very difficult subject.
It's a tough conversation to have. We both understand that.
Yep.
We're both very religious, but we both understand how tough that conversation is.
No question about it. It's not easy. It's a lot of self-denial at the end of the day. And the problem is the politicians, whether it's on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, they will exploit and twist whatever that message is.
Religion at every cost. They
absolutely.
Because as soon as they run, they get a religion.
Fits their quota. That's the issue here. And that's what Hochul was doing.
It's a bad scene. It's a bad scene for her. She should probably not say that again. That would be bad. That's bad. I read that and I actually had to read it like 3 or 4 times because I was like, huh?
Yeah.
I thought you were one of the good ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
no.
But why would you? Like, you're shaming people. You're shaming people
to get a jab.
Yeah. And you're using God to shame them, that's like the worst. That's the worst of the worst. Like you don't attack people's families. You don't attack people's religions. Like there's 2 rules in life that we should probably keep.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And in fact, you really just have to just say, like, where is the actual wisdom in saying, go to your doctor if you have doubts. Go to your doctor if you have questions.
Yeah,
don't throw it up there, to your point. Don't go up there and throw it up to God and saying, like, well, God wants you to get the jab. Thanks for putting an additional law on my heart and mind and conscience. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. The hell with you.
But that's the bizarre part of the administrative state, how they've moved so far away from actual medical research.
Yeah.
And just simply like, because what were we taught when we were kids? You have a cold that lasts a little longer than 3 or 4 days. You should probably see a doctor.
Yep.
You have, questions about, a rash on your leg. You should probably go see a doctor. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, these are things it's all HIPAA, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's between you and the physician that you choose to go to.
Correct.
You don't just maybe we're confused about life, but you don't just come out of the womb and that's your doctor over there. There's Jerry. He's going to be taking care of you for the rest of your life. This isn't the movie The Island Like
Funny-
this is
yeah.
this is real life. Like you choose your doctor that you feel comfortable with, and
Yeah.
you talk to your doctor about things
Mm-hmm.
that pertain to your health.
Yeah.
He is your
Primary
he went to
care
school to be
physician,
your
yeah.
professional in
Yeah.
how we're going to keep you alive for a couple years so you can see your grandkids, kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Not
Here
really
are the
hard.
treatment options that are available. Here are
These yahoos are running around on TV
Let's go
undermining all of that.
Let's go to a conference where we're going to have the governor of a state come to us and talk to us and say how great the vaccine is, and therefore, well, I'm going to talk to my friend, about a very personal decision and guilt them into getting a vaccine.
It's weird. You can see why there's hesitancy.
Yeah.
Like you literally can see it.
And when the question gets asked, well, I have doubts because I've heard about this vaccine. All of a sudden the conversation, you know what it does? It stops because it's like, well, I told you to get it. Don't question me. I just told you to get it.
That was similar to little off topic, but since we're going this way, this is the same thing that Rand Paul was just saying when he was in the committee. I think I sent it to you. The committee hearing that he was talking about.
Yep.
He kept going back to you didn't do your like he's a doctor, first of all. So he was talking about natural immunity, and he was talking about COVID. He was talking about vaccine hesitancy, and he was like, he's flabbergasted because that side that they're coming from, they're not using logic. They're using God, donuts, hamburgers.
Yeah.
You better,
yeah.
You better, like, what did Biden, getting into our next segment, what did Biden say? He was like, our patience is running thin.
Our patience is running thin.
That is really going to get a hardworking man or woman be like, oh, wait a minute. Joe said,
oh, you know what? Light bulb. I might as well go get the shot. Get out of here with that. It's like
that's something your abusive grandmother used to say to you. That's not something the United States says.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, or your abusive mom. We just like, I told you to do this. Okay, Mom, sorry. It's like get out of here with this.
There's been so many great TikTok videos of that, by the way.
Oh, man.
Stitches on TikTok of him being like, my patience is wearing thin. Dude, the females in the United States are amazing on TikTok because they are so much funnier than the dudes, because the dudes don't know how to be funny on TikTok. But they are hilarious. You just search Joe Biden saying that, and you'll see all the stitches. They're hilarious.
That's awesome. We got to check that out. But yeah, let's hit up topic 3 since we're talking about the president, John. Lots been made of finances and things along those lines, and
he's trying to look into ours.
He's trying to look into ours, and that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, well, that's great and all, but, and they're all about paying their fair share.
Yeah.
The problem is the president owes $500,000 in back taxes, allegedly.
Allegedly.
The article up here on screen, but it's interesting. It's an alleged $500,000 back tax payment. And I'm thinking, how does the president of the United States owe $500,000 in back taxes? Let's stop to think about that for a minute. How much money are you making?
Yeah. And when did you stop paying it? Or have you always not paid it? And how much?
Yeah.
And this article literally and forgive me if I'm going crazy, but this immediately, well, Joe Biden possibly could owe back taxes. Well, what about Pelosi? What about Schumer? What about
AOC? What about?
What about you start? I want to look into Ted Cruz. Like I like him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking at Rand Paul. I'm looking at all of you. Be like, wait a minute. Because you all worked with him for a very long time. You might not like him now, but you worked with him for a really long time. So if he isn't paying his taxes, who else isn't? That's what this article pops in my mind.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's an amazing piece because it's like, you just have to think about it. I remember when, I think it was about a week and a half ago, you had the Met Gala, of course, and AOC, little Miss Hottie, running around out there with the white dress, tax the rich, spray painted. And of course, the dress designer got into hot water because she was a tax cheat for a number of months and years. And it's like the hypocrisy of it all. It's like they cry about the rich saying, hey, you've got to pay your fair share. You're not paying enough. And of course, like you see the articles that come out, I think there was a couple that I saw where it's like they're paying X amount more, like 20 to 30% more than the average person is in terms of their taxes.
Yeah.
And it's like when are we going to stop the insanity with that, John? That's my question to you. Like, when are we going to like actually look at these numbers and try and figure this stuff out?
Nobody understands economics apparently, so we're never going to. I mean, it makes sense why not to tax the rich, because they own all the corporations, and all the corporations are who we work for. So, and we like money, so we like more. We as workers like money. Mm-hmm. So if they're getting taxed all that money, they're not going to give it. That's the amazing part of the culture of today, that they are so clueless how it works. Like I've literally heard people be like, well, I want to make more money, but we should tax all those corporations because we need more money from them, so we get more money.
Yeah, and that doesn't make any sense.
You get less money, and then your macaroni and cheese is $5 instead of $2 at Walmart, because Walmart's paying you $19 an hour when they were paying you $10 an hour, because you know what I mean? Because the minimum wage goes up, but then they get hit with the taxes, and then who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
It's going to be us, the consumer.
Absolutely. Yes, that cost has to go somewhere. That's the problem with all of that. And it's like...
And I don't know if people are used to America, but shit travels downhill.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the way America works.
Well, wait a minute. Are you saying that it might be trickle-down economics, John? I don't...
Could be.
Uh-oh. Don't want to say that in this podcast. Good Lord. Okay.
I don't have a degree. I can't. I just find I don't have a degree, but yet I've read a ton and love economics. So yeah, I'm just not going to say. I just won't say anything. I don't know anything.
Well, and a really good. We should really talk about we didn't talk about this in pre-production, but really, like, if you ever want to read a good economics book.
Yeah,
before you go and take a nap, it's
you're going to need a nap after.
Exactly.
Trust me. It's boring as hell, but it's
exactly. Milton Friedman, actually, I don't know the name of the book off the top of my head, but excellent writer in terms of really just understanding the free market economies, and he, from both the macro and the microeconomic level, and it really was a couple of transformative books that he wrote. Was really good.
And he also if you just want to YouTube him, also I'll find a couple clips of him and we'll throw them in the show notes. He spoke a lot, and there's some great cuts on YouTube where he did a lot of book speaking tours and explained. And actually, he went one-on-one with college students and economic majors that were just like, I disagree, and he broke it down.
Yeah,
He's probably the foremost in economics because he was able to take a complex situation and explain it very well.
Yeah.
Very simply and very well. And that's the key to a great speaker, if you can make it make sense.
Totally. I remember when I was going to Temple University and went to the business school down there, Speakman Hall. Mm-hmm. One of the books that I was required to read in economics was a Milton Friedman book.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was like, wow. It was like, that was really transformative for me to understand fully what he means by how money moves in a free market economy. And you were thinking, like, how does it move?
Yeah, because
he breaks that really well down.
I get you don't understand it, but it's like, not you. I'm saying I get why people don't understand it. It's a hard concept, but
it is. Yeah.
Tax breaks for the rich are. And it's such a Republican talking point, which pisses people off that are not Republicans, which I also understand. But I want to kind of take it from the center and kind of look at it. Like, taxing the rich, a share is fine, but it's all the ebb and flow, because you got to figure out who sets the cost.
Yeah.
So once you figure out who sets the cost. Then you have to lower tax upwards because of who sets the cost. Because what you want is you want to be able to go to Walmart and spend $100 and get everything you need
Next thing that
for
we need.
2 weeks, right? That's the goal of the whole thing.
Exactly.
So are you going to overtax Walmart's CEO who sets the price on Bear aspirin because he buys it at a astronomical level? Like, he's buying so many cases that he gets it for a smaller amount of money.
Exactly.
Do you want to tax him so then he's losing the money on what he's doing? Because then how much is Bear aspirin going to be?
Exactly.
If it's $5, it's probably going to be $10 to cover the cost, because he's got to pay. And I'm not saying it's right, but he's got to pay for his yacht. He's got to pay for his home. He's got to pay for his cars.
You would think, yeah.
I wouldn't blame the average person who's listening to this. If you were in that situation, I wouldn't blame you for putting the cost on the consumer. It's just the way that it works.
Yeah, exactly. It's the way the capitalist system works, unfortunately. And it is the best system that we've got right now. If you try and socialize this, this is where I disagree a little bit with this is where I vehemently disagree, actually, I should say, with Bernie.
Yeah.
Bernie's like, oh, God, you got to tax everybody all the time. And it's like, dude, you got to just like dial it down a little bit here, because if you do that, they have no money left. That's the problem.
Yeah, and
tax them 100% of their income. They've got to find
for everybody to really understand it. The government doesn't make money.
Yeah. Thank you for saying
it. It spends money. That's all the government does. That's all they do. They spend money. But what other people from the middle and Trump, in a way, had a really good concept of going into the programs and cutting the fat. That would help the government be able to help more people.
Yeah.
By cutting the fat. But that also economically doesn't work well, because you're putting more people out of work.
Right. See, and that's the thing, that's been the trend in business too, John, has always been, what can we do to service our customers leaner, faster, with less cost overhead? Because the reason, the idea being that you want that higher return on your investment.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, so that you can reinvest that money into other things within the organization, whether that's in technology, infrastructure, or within the people. Do you want to give them the extra bonus?
Also in customer service, it's happening. Because if you see, I haven't been in McDonald's in forever. I was at a Wendy's a little while ago. They have the touchscreens now where you order yourself. You do the work for them. But they still have people back there. They've taken people away from the register.
Yep.
So that the food can be made quicker. Same thing. Wawa does it. Sheetz does it.
Yeah.
They're taking away
that personal one-on-one touch. I get that. Yeah.
But to do it faster, because they know you're going to come, because you're getting like, I understand, but that's what the government is trying to do, but they're really bad at doing stuff.
They're horrible at it. Yeah.
So the government is really bad at everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
They try really hard. They are totally that person in your life. We all have them. Some of us are them. Where you try really hard and mediocre results. That's what the government is. It really is. You're never going to win when you're on the side of the government.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. When you're on a spending spree, eventually
they just don't know what to do. They've never been. That's why the Constitution was put together, to have so many checks and balances.
Exactly.
Because they knew that people were going, like, when you have trillions of dollars, people are going to be bad at saving money.
Oh yeah.
The government does not save very well. They tell you have to, but they're not very good at it.
And yet this kind of leads really into our big fourth topic, because I don't know if you've noticed, Johnny, but within the first three, there's been a theme kind of running through all these first three topics.
Oh yeah.
And that is really a think piece that we've come up with. We don't have an article for this, but it's just something we've been thinking about really within the last couple of days. Are the political elites in our government seriously in trouble? And the idea being that, there has been so much information about really everything from the vaccine hesitancy that's been caused because they put on masks and then you see them take off the masks, once the cameras, quote unquote, stop rolling. There's been things like, with Biden and the $500,000 back taxes issue.
Yeah.
You've got everything from Cuomo and Hochul being idiots and fools. So the question is,
don't forget about Biden being on a stage.
Yeah, exactly. Biden being on a stage getting a booster shot, not actually in the White House. So
that got people concerned because they were like, "Whoa, wait a minute."
Yeah. So the question is, and I'll pose it to you, do you think we're seeing a little bit of a renaissance happening?
Yes.
Within I'll just call us the plebes, the common folk.
Yes, absolutely.
And really thinking about this. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We are in a renaissance. Now, I've said this from the beginning of the podcast. This is for the religious followers or just anybody or the conspiracy theorists at the same time, because we're both doing this. It isn't a great awakening to the fact that we're seeing all the corruption. We're seeing all the BS. We're seeing media's doing what they were doing in the 60s and 70s. They're reporting on this.
Mm-hmm.
It's
undeniable that they have to report. Yeah.
There is your media that's trying to, overthrow the reporting, and they don't want to report. But I mean, just look at Project Veritas exist at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing some interesting stuff. They probably pay for most of their information, but that's how reporting is done.
Yeah.
No one's going to risk their life talking about a big company.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Without getting some kind of financial backing.
Exactly.
They gotta, know, Walter Cronkite talked about that all the time. You have to give people the rub before they're going to give you the information.
No doubt. Yeah. I look at I guess a prime example of this would be Bill Maher.
Mm-hmm.
I think of a guy like him. 5 years ago, I wouldn't want to have anything to do with the guy. Nothing to do with the guy. I thought he was a lunatic, whatever the case was. But the more and more that I have seen him talk, this just within this last year, he is scarily becoming more and more sounding like a centrist moderate.
Yes,
/
absolutely.
Maybe a little dabble of conservatism in him.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
Because you're seeing him call out the most obvious errors that he sees within the Democrat Party.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was just today, or I think it was the other day, basically essentially ripping the progressives within Congress because of the two senators that are holding up the bill,
which happen to be moderate,
$1 billion spending bloated package that that Biden wants to push through.
Well, there's two of them.
Yeah, Manchin and I think the girl in Arizona. I don't remember.
Yeah, there's two that are holding it up, but there's also two bills. Yeah. There's a simple spending bill, and then there's a completely fatted bill. If you know anything about bills that come out of Congress, they are loaded back end with a bunch of BS.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly for their buddies, mostly for, I think there was one in the Bush era that I remember reading that gave one of Bush's friends that owned a big company like Tyson Chicken. Not that one, but I'm just saying, it was a big company. Gave him a tax relief, a nice check to kind of reset his operations because he was not doing well. This was during the Bush administration. It was a bill for something that you wouldn't even think would get that, but there's always fat.
Oh, sure.
On these bills, and that's what they're fighting about. And Bill Maher's whole concept is maybe that the two representatives that are holding this up actually represent the people and not the politics.
Bingo.
Which I thought was an incredible point.
Exactly. It was massively important for him to say that. Yeah, and that you do. My point is, you never would have heard that from a Bill from him within 5 years ago. That's not even remotely on his radar, and yet it is on his radar now. It is. And he's taken on The View. Now, I mean, let's face it, The View's, they're lunatics.
Yeah.
But he's calling them out for being lunatics. And he's saying no, we should not have two national anthems. We should have one national anthem.
We should work on instead of creating two things, we should work on being one.
Yeah.
That's literally and I'm
you don't have e pluribus unum in the entire
I'm going to give you an analogy. I'm going to give you an analogy that makes complete sense.
Go for it.
And this is
I
where
love it when you do this, by the way.
This is where culture doesn't it makes me mad.
Yep.
So what we're doing in race and culture now is we're knocking stuff down and we're adding extra things. That's literally like sitting across from your girlfriend or boyfriend and going, you don't give me what I need, but I've never told you what I needed, but I'm just going to replace you with someone that's going to give me what I needed. That's what this country is doing right now. They never gave it to us.
Yeah.
And I fall into that kind of category too. I'm not saying we shouldn't be angry. We definitely should be angry. Mm-hmm. My problem is we've already had this movement and it's been hijacked corporately. And that's the problem. Just let the people do it. Stop the nonsense of the corporate. Pepsi wants to get involved. Coke wants to get involved. Yeah. Skittles wants to get involved. We don't need your help. You never were here. You're not. Just because you think you're progressive doesn't mean you're progressive. You're actually hurting the cause.
Yeah, exactly. You're making things worse because you're falling all over yourself thinking that you're trying to follow what the culture is trying to do or say.
Yes, and it's not helping.
No.
What we need to come together as people, not as races, but as people. Mm-hmm. And we should probably start right after this Biden fiasco. And let's vote someone in that actually wants to do the things that we want to see. Mm-hmm. We want change. Mm-hmm. We should probably vote for change.
Yeah.
We haven't done that yet. This is reactionary voting at its finest, this Biden Trump thing.
Yeah.
Rogan said it best. He was like, if we don't change now, all we're going to do is vote in a right-wing lunatic just to counteract the left-wing lunatic.
And you're going to have that swing going from left to right to left.
And that's not, I don't think that's not how, and to your point, the elites are in trouble because I think more and more people are understanding that they need to stand up and they need to make a change. I know a ton of my friends that I went to high school with are running for, are going to run for office. They're making the changes that they need to.
That's huge.
They're keeping our voices alive, which is huge. We need to go at these people.
We do, and I think you're starting to also see that too on the podcast level because I remember I was reading, I think it was either yesterday or today. Fauci, the Riddler, right? He's on this podcast, and the podcast guy is like, "Do you really think you should step down?" And he's like, "No, I don't want to step down." And he's like, no, Melissa, you taught me to basically go with the vaccine, and I did. And I went and I got it. But some people that disagree with you are not getting the vaccine because they see different things coming out of your mouth. Do you think you should step down? And he's sitting there, well, this is ridiculous because the virus evolves and all this other bullshit. That's what the administrative state does, John. In order to justify themselves, they have to say it evolves, it changes, it doesn't. Everybody knows that, Doc. Everybody understands that this virus is going to change and mutate and do all kinds of other crap. The issue that we've got is you don't know what you're talking about. You keep changing your mind every single time.
Well, that is the greatest manipulation in life.
Yeah.
In theory, the liar will always be one step ahead of you because he keeps changing the game.
Yes.
That's the manipulation of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's funny that one of my favorite quotes from a song, if anybody knows the song, you can comment on the YouTube and we'll see if you're right, but I won't tell you. But it's you get in trouble for lying to the government. Mm-hmm. But the government lying to you is called a politician.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also, too, really to wrap this up, Johnny, I think this is big because this is a C.S. Lewis quote. And as you know, I love C.S. Lewis.
Oh, absolutely.
Just one of the greatest thinkers and writers back in the 20th century.
Oh, yeah.
The heart never takes the place of the head, but it can and should obey it.
Absolutely.
Now, I mean, that to me is just like we are allowing the heart this is hard for a lot of people to hear this.
Yes.
We are allowing the heart to really dictate our politics, not our head.
Mm-hmm.
Our head needs to think and then react. And using our heart and our soul, we then articulate our thoughts.
You have the passion behind it.
Exactly.
I had the that's what we were talking about. We were talking about before with the way I'm looking at it is we used to live objectively. Now we live subjectively.
And you spin this forward with Biden standing up there saying our patience is running thin with people not getting the jab. That is an example of heart not thinking. That is just 100% emotion on this.
You can say that he cares or doesn't care. That argument is irrelevant to the fact that he said something like that is total subjective thinking.
Exactly. And we need objective thinking.
Yes.
Really. We need to really start.
The objective is to defeat the virus, not subjectively think about beating the virus. And that's what the last two administrations did. And that's why we are in the problem we are.
That we're in. Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly. Like, it's pretty easy to figure out who's at fault.
Exactly. And really, it's a matter of kind of what we were talking about too with Doc last week. Really, it's just understanding like your own body, your own physical health. What can you do to get yourself healthy? And Doc's 3 points of with good health were really fantastic. We'll let you hit that up on episode 52 to figure that out.
See that at the end of this one.
Yeah, exactly. But for now, John, let's transition over to our happy segment.
Yeah, why
not? This one was really, really cool. You sent this over to me. You always find the good happies.
Steve, he's not 100, and he's not a World War II veteran. But you'll like him, I promise.
But he's really good. So let's just go ahead and play what's going on here.
If I thought of this as a job, I probably would not have lasted this long. Basically, at heart, we're fans. We're down here every night. A day like today, the sky's blue, the grass is green.
Thank you.
The fans are unbelievable. You just get a feeling inside you like this is fun. You love it.
Love my beer, love my Phillies. I like cold beer.
My name is John Kuehlen. I'm 66 years old. I've been working as a vendor since 1971, so this is year 50 for me. There's a lot of walking, a lot of steps. It's up and down and up and down.
10.
I remember the 2008 World Series, the 1980 World Series, working some different concerts, going to the All-Star game, working Live Aid. That's how long I've been doing it here.
Said 2, right? There you go.
I've been able to get to a lot of events that otherwise I would never have been able to attend.
How are you, Mary?
You have to think about it, people come down here to sort of forget other troubles, hoping the Phillies win.
There we go.
And things will sell better if the Phillies are winning. Fans get up, they all start cheering, the Liberty Bell goes off. It's electric.
We have a lot of vendors that I remember buying things from when I was younger. You recognize the name or the voices.
I like cold beer.
John's one of our vendors that has worked the entire run of Veterans Stadium and now has been here at Citizens Bank Park every season.
How you making out, Cheryl?
That goes for all of our employees, whether you're working in a concession stand, you're one of our cooks or chefs. We cover just about all the bases here, except for on the field at the ballpark.
You do learn how to avoid people in this job. I can get around anybody. You give me an opening, I can get through it.
I hope to work a couple more years at least. It keeps me young.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Everybody down here is still so friendly, so as long as I can get up and down the steps, then I'm good to go.
Cold beer, Miller Lite.
I mean, come on.
How can you not love that guy?
Like John Cullen, big time shout out, brother. That is awesome, man.
50 years of doing that, that's crazy.
And
Nobody does anything for 5 minutes anymore. He's been doing that for the whole Veteran Stadium run, and the entire time Citizens Bank Park's open. It just warms my heart to know that
16 years old.
He likes
I
it.
can't even remember.
He likes it as much as I like watching him do it.
Yeah, it's just great. I mean, and he's the bringer of beer, John. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this.
I love those guys. You don't have to walk. Great.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I can't even imagine the number of steps. Although, the lower level of Citizens Bank Park is pretty low, I would think. But yeah, it's just like, how many times, my God, you're carrying that case of beer up and down.
Man,
and those beers aren't cheap, man. Let me tell you.
No, they're not.
Yikes.
We'll definitely have to figure out what section that is and see if he's there. Like once we get back together and go to a game together.
There you go.
We'll see if we can't find him.
Yeah, we gotta go down there, and then we have to tell him, hey, we do a podcast, so we gave you a big time shout out there, bud. How about that? That kind of deal. That's awesome. Good stuff. So yeah, that wraps up episode 52 of Two Noobs Talking.
We did it,
Johnny. As always, man, great time to get together with you and talk.
Enjoy
about
talking to you.
things.
That's what we do for a living.
Yeah, exactly. I will not be here next week. I'm going to Williamsburg, Virginia, and I am hoping to fire a flintlock rifle. It's an 18th century, big time rifle there. So
I'm begging Matt to get video.
I am going to get a video, and I will share it on Two Noobs, for the 1 year anniversary, because that's coming up the next week. But of course, Steve will be in my place for next week. But John will be doing the hosting for the first time in our podcast. So Johnny, you got big shoulders there, bud. Got to do it.
I'll figure it out.
I
can't follow you. You were good at what you did, so we will try to do as best we can.
Absolutely.
I will also be in the road, so it will be a recording from Houston. So
wow,
you got a bunch of things.
Texas. There you go.
You got Steve Merry. You got the shirt preview of Steve's Space Adventures coming out next week. we got Houston, so it's a Houston hotel room. So you'll get to see all kinds of stuff. We'll figure it out.
Can't wait. Well, let's hit them up with our socials. Let's hit them up with our socials, as I could get it out there.
Yeah, exactly. Two Noobs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we are back on Facebook, even though we hate Facebook. We're back getting videos out on there. But thank you for the likes and stuff on that. That's really cool. People are interacting with us on that, which is very cool. Really appreciate that. We're Instagram, TikTok. We don't really do Clapper anymore because it's a sucky app. It doesn't work. So I don't even.
So maybe put a line through that then, John.
Yeah, we'll just put a line through that. Yeah, we don't do Clapper anymore. It's dumb. But definitely TikTok. We get a lot of views on TikTok. We get a lot of likes on TikTok. So that's great. We will always have videos, short little videos that we can kind of get out on those platforms to bring us back to our main
YouTube channel, of course, the Two Noobs Talking podcast. Of course, love it if you like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Helps get the word out quickly as we can. And of course, on our audio side, Johnny, we're proudly hosted by Podbean, right?
Yes, Podbean is our host, but it gets us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, but that really sucks as an entire app company, and I don't even like the guy who owns it. We're on iHeartRadio. We're Googleable, so Google Podcast. You can Google us, literally Two Noobs Talking, 215-512. You can Google us, and it will pop up. Which is I've never been Googleable, so I'm very happy that I've been able to be Googleable.
That's awesome.
I've said it 3 times now.
And then, of course, like our show notes. Our show notes can be found TwoNoobsTalking.wordpress.com. Of course, we have links to all of our articles on those show notes, and of course, we encourage you to read those as well. And again, if you enter in your email address, no raffle. Unfortunately, we're going to get there. Hopefully,
we're not that rich.
Maybe we'll raffle off Steve's, dick rocket. We'll see. Well, we'll see.
Space adventure.
But if you enter in the email address, hit enter and submit. Show notes show up in your inbox the very next day. I mean, how cool is that? That's just so awesome. So, and of course, that wraps things up, Johnny. Episode 52 of Two Noobs Talking. Good luck next week. Can't wait to see the episode. That should be a lot of fun. But do you have anything final to say before we get the heck out of here?
It's time to go.
Yeah.
Bye.
We'll see you later. Talk to you all next week. Take care.
This country was founded by geniuses, but it's being run by a bunch of idiots. Why do the members of the United States Senate continue to double down on stupid?